Hello, my friends. This is DAV Budget Prep. I'm a disabled veteran and a prepper. This video is actually a redo of my first video with new information. Why am I redoing this? Because the quality of the first video was so bad and I made major changes to my equipment. As I said before, I'm a Vietnam era and Cold War veteran. I spent 5 years in the Navy on active duty and 10 years in the National Guard. Several years after leaving active duty, I discovered that while I was on active duty and serving in various jungles around the world, I had contracted a disease called lymphatic filariasis, which according to the CDC is the world's leading cause of permanent disability. This disease caused severe damage to my lymph system and my legs, forcing me to retire early. The health care I receive for this disease is provided by the VA, and I receive a small non-taxable pension. When Obamacare came along, I was told I would be exempt and I would just stay in the VA healthcare system since my income was so reduced due to my disability from the service. Now, I'm told my disability income needs to be considered as income for my wife's Obamacare. She has her own job, and I can see her income being counted for the amount she must pay for Obamacare. But they now want me to consider how much I get from my VA disability as her income. My wife works hard for her minimum wage job, but it doesn't bring us that much income. So my pension must pay for both of us to live. And now because of the Obamacare rule, not only does she have to pay for her Obamacare, but so must I. As if the additional amount I paid out for her insurance wasn't enough, she actually had to use it for surgery. The insurance deductible was so high it essentially paid nothing. So now I have the Obamacare insurance, which is worth nothing, to continue to pay, and I still have to pay the bills the insurance did not pay. In the end, who benefits from all this? Me or my wife, the disabled low-income couple Obamacare was supposed to help? No. We still have to pay all the bills in addition to the insurance. Does the medical community benefit? No. They weren't paid anything from the insurance, and they get less from me because I can't afford the insurance and the bills, especially from something I'm supposed to be exempt from. The insurance companies, oh yes, they have made a fortune insuring more people for things they will never have to pay for. Also, finally, are the lazy and worthless. Now, I'm not talking about people who have worked in their lives and have some Social Security or disability they deserve, but the ones who never worked in their lives and were never qualified for any programs because they had nothing wrong with them. They're just lazy and worthless. However, they can vote. And this is what makes it good for the politicians. This is why we have such ridiculous rules being set for political correctness, because nobody wants possible voters thinking they don't care. And the press can no longer be trusted to tell you the truth. They just spin the story as to how their ownership wants it and controls the minds and actions of the lazy and the worthless. Because in most cases, they are also the uneducated, because they were lazy, too lazy and worthless to finish high school. I retired in 2010, and I've since wondered what has happened to this world. When I enlisted during the Vietnam War, I was promised that if anything happened to me as a result of my service, they would take care of me. The health care they have provided me is excellent, but I just can't tolerate them wanting to dig into my pocket and continue to allow the lazy and worthless to have their insurance free and their free Obama phones and all their other free benefits that the rest of us pay for. You think politics will change? Will it get better? I just can't believe we may have another Bush-Clinton race for the White House. Both parties are out of their minds. So since I can no longer count on my government to fulfill the needs of those who deserve it, not the ones who think they are entitled to it. I must help myself, and I have become a prepper. These days, a prepper can get you labeled as a terrorist if you're not careful. There are government plans that actually call for collecting food from preppers to feed the masses. This is where we must draw the line. I have found that due to my disabilities, I have limitations in my life and I must learn to overcome them. I've taken the skills that I have learned in and out of the military and have adapted them to my needs as a prepper, or better yet, a survivor. Furthermore, because of my disability income, this must be done on a budget. Excuse me. As I developed my plan for budget prepping, I first looked at the other preppers out there. I was overwhelmed at all the gear and equipment these people have, and I thought, there's no way I can get all this. Then I started thinking, well, if I didn't have this or that, and began a philosophy of scenario adaptation, basically, which states, what is my worst case scenario and best case scenario in a given situation? If I don't have this item, what's the worst thing that can happen? One by one, you will find out you can eliminate things by overcoming and adapting. A lot of people are preparing for earthquakes, nuclear attack, tornadoes, financial collapse, civil unrest, on and on. And if you ask yourself, what are the worst case scenarios in each of these, you will quickly see that all of them have the same worst case scenario in all cases. First off is the loss of power. Watch this generation when the smartphones go out. Next, any disaster or even a threat of a disaster will empty the stores in 3 days or less. Then comes the effects of loss of power. No electricity means no gasoline pumps running for the trucks to refill the stores. No utilities at all, gas, water, or electric. You are then faced with these facts. Within 3 days, you'll die of thirst. Within 3 weeks, you'll die of starvation. Finally, as people become hungry and thirsty, they will come looking for food and supplies you must protect. This can happen overnight. You may think it's unlikely, but the best example to give you is New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina. Within 3 days, complete unrest occurred within the city. Looting was everywhere. People were killing each other. There were bodies in the streets. And in the midst of it all, the chief of police declared martial law and went door to door with the National Guard to confiscate the guns of the legal gun owners and landowners. To confiscate them, to prevent them from protecting themselves from the looters. Or should I say, the lazy and the worthless. Meanwhile, thousands of homeless people were herded into the Superdome, and that was a scene of pure chaos. Rapes and other attacks were going on inside the dome, while more bodies piled up on the streets. New Orleans went from a great bustling center with an exotic history and a tourist mecca to a third world country in 2 days. Cut out the power, run out of food, total unrest occurs. That is the worst case scenario. However, you'll see in most cases, even in New Orleans, power and order will be restored within a relatively short period of time, 1 to 3 months at the most. There is the possibility that loss of power and control will be forever, but I don't think I want to live in a world that I have to completely start over. As well, you can spend so much time preparing and resources preparing for a long-term disaster that you're not prepared for a short-term disaster. My philosophy is to start with a short-term disaster and move on from there. First, get everything you need to stay alive for just 3 days. Then add what you need to turn those supplies into a week. Then what do you need to make supplies last a month? Then 3 months. Then you have a good base and can go on from there or stop there. This gives you shorter, cheaper goals and is useful immediately for short-term disasters. I will show you the minimum you need to survive each step, considering calories, cost, ease of preparation, storage, etc. Once the 3 months worth of food is collected, we will move on with other items that will be cheap and nice to have. My video will be for the real person who does not have a lot of money to prepare and feels overwhelmed on how to start and continue a low-cost plan. As well, if age, illness, or disability, among other reasons, prevents you from bugging out of your home, you must create what I call an Alamo on a budget. In closing, watch my videos. Ask me to evaluate products you find that you think may be helpful. And please, above all, subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.